Habs Nation. Have you ever seen a team's defensive fortress, built on the back of one player's relentless sacrifice, crumble in a single devastating moment? In the hyper-analytical, brutally unforgiving ecosystem of the National Hockey League, front offices often mistake durability for invincibility, assuming their cornerstone players can absorb endless punishment without consequence. Today, we're barricading the tactical war room to face a grim reality. The Montreal Canadiens blue line has been reduced to a disaster zone. The medical ledgers confirm that Noah Dobson is out for at least 2 weeks with a severe upper body injury, and the fallout is catastrophic. Grab your shot suppression charts, pull up your minor league emergency protocols, and brace for a ruthless breakdown. We're conducting a forensic audit of why Dobson's thumb injury is a geometric catastrophe and why thrusting David Reinbacher into this chaos is an act of pure executive desperation. Let's dive straight into the structural reality of the asset Montreal just lost. Noah Dobson isn't merely an offensive catalyst on the back end, amassing 12 goals and 35 assists for a total of 47 points this season. He's a foundational anchor of the Canadiens' defensive kinetic suppression, a player whose presence is a bedrock of their ability to neutralize opposing attacks. I need you to freeze your analytical processing and grasp the sheer physical violence required to lead the entire NHL with 188 block shots. That number isn't just a stat. It's a testament to Dobson's willingness to put his body on the line night after night, stepping in front of blistering 95 miles per hour slap shots and absorbing bone-rattling hits to protect the net. Every time a defenseman makes that sacrifice, the franchise is playing Russian roulette with its own corporate geometry, betting that the human frame can endure relentless trauma without breaking. Against the Columbus Blue Jackets, in the final stretch of the regular season, the chamber was finally loaded. Dobson took a traumatic impact to his thumb while blocking a shot, a seemingly minor injury with monumental consequences. In hockey, your thumb is a primary geometric hinge for stick control, puck distribution, and defensive leveraging in the corners. It's the pivot point for handling the puck under pressure, delivering precise breakout passes, and battling along the boards for possession. Without full functionality, you're mathematically useless on the ice, unable to execute the fundamental tasks that define a top-pairing defenseman. The Canadiens didn't just lose a player. They lost their primary offensive engine from the blue line and their most heavily armored biological shield in a single gut-wrenching play. This isn't a small setback. It's a structural implosion just as the playoffs loom on the horizon. Now, we must aggressively pivot our lens to the domino effect rippling through the rest of the defensive spreadsheet. The media will zero in on Dobson's absence as an isolated loss, but front offices assess the aggregate void, and the picture is dire. This injury doesn't exist in a vacuum. Montreal's defensive infrastructure was already teetering on the edge of collapse. Caden Gould is sidelined with his own injury, his physical shutdown presence a critical missing piece. Alexander Carrier is also out, further depleting the rotation of reliable minutes eaters. When you subtract 3 primary rotation pieces from an NHL blue line, you no longer have a structured defense. You have a triage unit, a patchwork of bodies scrambling to hold together a crumbling wall. The geometric spacing required to successfully execute breakout passes and defend a neutral zone completely collapses when 50% of your starting defensemen are in the MRI tube or on the trainer's table. The burden now shifts to depth players who are mathematically unqualified to absorb 22 minutes of high-leverage time on ice per night against apex predators like the New York Islanders or, more critically, the Tampa Bay Lightning in the impending first-round playoff matchup. Players like Jaden Struble or Arbor Shakaj, if still in the lineup, are being forced into roles far beyond their current developmental ceiling. Even a veteran like Mike Matheson, already carrying a heavy load, can't single-handedly compensate for the loss of 3 key cogs. Fatigue will creep in, mistakes will multiply, and opposing coaches will exploit every mismatch with ruthless precision. The defensive zone, once a fortress under Dobson's league-leading shot blocking, risks becoming a sieve, unable to withstand the relentless pressure of playoff-caliber offenses. This brings us to the corporate extraction triggered by this crisis. The emergency recall of 21-year-old David Reinbacher from the Laval Rocket in the AHL. Let's conduct a rapid audit of this asset to understand the gamble at play. Selected 5th overall in the 2023 draft, Reinbacher has performed admirably in the minors, generating 24 points and posting a highly efficient plus 18 rating across 57 games. His skating, puck-moving ability, and defensive awareness mark him as a future franchise pillar, a player with a kinetic architecture to anchor a blue line for a decade. On paper, he's the kind of talent you build around, a prospect with the tools to thrive in the NHL given the right timeline and support structure. But make no mistake, this is not a calculated developmental milestone or a carefully orchestrated debut. This is a panic button. Plain and simple. You don't optimally introduce your blue-chip defensive prospect by dropping him into a broken rotation during the highest stress, final week sprint of the NHL regular season. With the playoffs just days away, the margin for error is absolute zero. Reinbacher isn't stepping into a stable environment where he can ease into the league with sheltered minutes and favorable matchups. He's being asked to perform open-heart surgery as an intern, thrust into a life-or-death situation because the primary surgeons, Dobson, Gull, and Carrier, are all incapacitated. The physical and mental toll of facing elite NHL forwards, potentially in a playoff series against a juggernaut like Tampa Bay, could overwhelm even a prospect of Reinbacher's caliber. Let's break down the risks of this emergency protocol in detail. Reinbacher's AHL success shows promise, but the jump to the NHL, especially under these dire circumstances, is a different beast entirely. The speed, physicality, and tactical complexity are exponentially higher, and he'll face opponents who spend an entire season honing their ability to exploit rookies. A single turnover or misassignment could lead to a goal against, shaking his confidence at a formative stage of his career. Mentally, the pressure of debuting in a depleted lineup with the weight of playoff expectations in a hockey-obsessed market like Montreal is immense. If he struggles, the narrative could, from promising prospect to overwhelmed rookie, a label that can linger and impact his development. Physically, he's untested against NHL-level hitting, and an injury of his own would compound the crisis, potentially derailing his trajectory for years. On the other hand, let's consider the potential upside, however slim it may be. If Reinbacher can hold his own, even in limited minutes, he could provide a desperately needed spark of stability, using his skating and hockey IQ to move the puck out of danger and support veterans like Matheson. His fresh legs might inject energy into a battered unit, and a strong debut could accelerate his trajectory, proving he's ready for bigger roles sooner than anticipated. Martin St. Louis will likely shelter his minutes initially, pairing him with a steady partner to minimize exposure to top lines, but the playoffs, should they start before Dobson returns, will offer no such luxury. Every shift will be a test, and Reinbacher's ability to adapt under fire will be a fascinating evaluation of his kinetic composure. Still, the odds are heavily stacked against him thriving in this chaotic, high-stakes context. Now, let's audit the broader impact of Dobson's injury on Montreal's playoff preparation. The Canadiens have clinched a postseason berth and face a daunting first-round matchup, likely against Tampa Bay, a team with elite offensive firepower and deep playoff pedigree. Dobson's absence, combined with Gull and Carrier being out, turns a competitive series into a potential mismatch. His 188 blocked shots aren't just a number. They represent a defensive identity, a willingness to sacrifice that set the tone for the entire blue line. Without him, shot suppression, a key to surviving high-scoring teams, becomes a distant hope. Opposing coaches will target the weakened defense, forechecking aggressively to force turnovers and capitalize on inexperience. The breakout game, once fluid under Dobson's puck-moving prowess, risks stalling, leaving forwards like Suzuki and Caulfield stranded without clean entries into the offensive zone. Let's also explore the tactical adjustments St. Louis must make to navigate this disaster. With 3 key defensemen out, expect a hyper-conservative approach, clogging the middle of the ice, dumping the puck out rather than risking passes, and leaning heavily on goaltender Jakob Dobson to bail out defensive lapses. But this plays into hands of skilled opponents who can adapt, picking apart a passive system with speed and precision. Matheson will be overworked, potentially leading to mistakes as fatigue sets in over a long series. Depth players and emergency call-ups like Reinbacher will face minutes they're not ready for, exposing gaps in coverage. Special teams, especially the penalty kill, will suffer without Dobson's shot blocking and Carrier's reliability, giving power play units like Tampa Bay's a lethal edge. Let's not overlook the psychological toll on the team. Dobson isn't just a statistical leader. He's a tone setter, a player whose physical sacrifices inspire others to go all in. Losing him, alongside goal and carrier, could shake the confidence of a squad entering the playoffs, especially for younger players who rely on veteran presence to steady the ship. St. Louis must rally the group around a next-man-up mentality, but the reality is stark. You can't replace the league leader in blocked shots with raw potential or grit alone. The Bell Center crowd can provide an emotional lift, but on-ice execution must match the passion, and right now, the defensive geometry is in complete disarray. Finally, let's deliver the executive verdict on this crisis. The Montreal Canadiens relied too heavily on Noah Dobson's physical sacrifices to stabilize their defensive zone, and the biological bill has finally come due. Front offices often assume key players can endure endless punishment, but hockey's violent nature ensures that no one is invincible. Kent Hughes and Martin St. Louis are now forced to operate with a completely bankrupted blue line, a unit stripped of its core identity just as the postseason looms. David Reinbacher's baptism by fire will be a critical test of his composure, but structurally, the team's playoff preparation geometry is in tatters. You cannot replace a player of Dobson's caliber, both offensively and defensively, with untested prospects or overtaxed depth pieces. The blueprints are stained with red ink, and the medical charts are overflowing with bad news. I'm turning the floor over to you in the comments. Step into the GM's chair. Can the Canadiens weather this blue line crisis with David Reinbacher and depth players stepping up? Or is Noah Dobson's injury a fatal blow to their playoff hopes? Crush that subscribe button now to lock in your permanent executive access to this war room. Slam the like button to overpower the algorithm. Keep your sights locked on the Triage Reports and stay fiercely tuned in for our next tactical breakdown.